So we'll just kind of work through this together. Don't feel on the spot because you're the only one in class. If you don't know something, I can just explain it or go through it too. And I'm also gonna say in this part where in the book or in the packet you can find this information. So that when you're studying and going back over this stuff in the final exam and just doing your own independent studying in general, you know where to access this information. So if you want to write that down as you're going through and kind of correcting it, and as those of you doing this on your own, watching the video are doing the same, you can just maybe jot down on the side a little note about where in the packet or where in the book to find this information in case you need an easy reference for all the stuff that we've gone over in class. All right, so for the definite article, Sunju, would you prefer to tell me what you got for these, or would you rather me just read the answers?
I mean, I'm good both ways. I can tell you my answer.
Okay, perfect. Why don't you go ahead and do that then, and then we can go over anything that you had questions about.
For definite article, the masculine singular, I have L.
Okay.
And the indefinite article, un.
Perfect.
Okay, and the feminine singular, I have la.
Good.
Then indefinite article, I have una.
Very nice.
And masculine plural, definite article, los. And indefinite articles, unos.
Very nice.
And feminine plural, definite article, las. And indefinite articles, unas.
Perfect. Great. And just as a reminder of what the definite article and indefinite article mean, the definite article in English is the, and the indefinite article is a or an. And that's the reason why I put examples in there too, because I think there's going to be probably things that come up where you may remember the Spanish version, but you may not remember what that actually means in English, because it might have been probably a very long time that some of you guys have seen the like definite article or indefinite article, if you ever learned that at all even. So just put some little hints in there too, in case the grammar words are throwing anyone off. And you can find the definite article information on page 3 of the book, if you want to jot that down, and the indefinite article stuff on page 7 of the book. All right, then on to part 2, which was labeling the images, just a little bit of vocabulary review from all the way back on day 1. You want to read these out for us, Sunju? Letter A.
Yeah, la cebolla.
Very nice. The onion. And B.
El limón.
Great. Don't forget that accent mark on the O there.
Okay.
And letter C.
El pan.
Very nice. Good pronunciation. And D.
El tomate.
Perfect. And these aren't in the book. They're just from our packet, but they're on page 3 is where you should have written them down as we were going over them on day 1. So if you need to reference those, or you can always go to the Kickstart Your Spanish group on Facebook and look at those vocabulary of the day also and reference any of the vocab that we've had on there that way. All right, on to possessive pronouns. Again, I put an example here in case you don't remember what that means, but the translation is like my would be me. So for yo, which is I, we have me. And then for tú, did you get these?
Yeah, tú is tú.
Good. So tú, meaning you, has an accent over the you. And then tú, which means your, has no accent. So just keep that in mind. And then the possessive pronoun for él, ella, usted, and ustedes.
Su.
Perfect. And nosotros, nosotras.
Nuestro, nuestra,
Perfect.
nuestros, nuestras.
Yeah, perfect. So actually with all of these, it could be me or it could be mis. So if you want to add that on there, put just like an S in parentheses, depending on what the noun is that follows it. So if they're mis perros, and there it's plural, then I'm gonna put the S after the mi, or just stuck on the side of it there. And the same could be tu perro if it's just one, or tus perros if it's plural. And then nuestro is the only one, as you mentioned, there that changes whether it's feminine or masculine. So it could be nuestro perro, or if it's something feminine like pluma, I would say nuestra pluma. So changing the ending there based on that noun. And that is on page 102 of the book, if you want to reference those personal possessive pronouns. All right, on to a little bit of translating. On number 4, the first one is, it's her restaurant.
I got es su restaurante.
Perfect. So Cal made a good point last night when you guys were working on this, that su restaurante, it could be hers, it could be his, it could be even the usted form if I'm talking to someone in that formal you. And we would use su for all of these. So the only way to distinguish that would be to use a totally different way of expressing possession. So you could also say, es el restaurante de ella. We haven't really gone over that way of expressing possession, but that is another possible option. And Cal brought that up last night. So I just wanted to throw it out there. If you were confused about that, there are multiple ways to say that same translation, but the one that we've learned so far in class is es su restaurante, and that's a perfectly good translation there. All right, letter B was their, our salads.
I have son nuestras ensaladas.
Perfect. So here we're going to use the verb ser because we're describing the salads, right? They're ours. And this is a perfect example of changing nuestras based on the gender and the plural noun that follows it, ensaladas. And the last one, it's my coffee.
Es mi café.
Perfect. And don't forget that accent mark over the ian café.
Café. Okay.
And for this stuff, the personal pronouns, same page 102 in the book, or it's very similar to the activities that we did in our packet on page 4. So if you want to review that, that'd be a good place to look it over. All right. So our next part was going through and refreshing on the reasons to use ser versus estar, or vice versa. You had a word bank there at the top to put them all in their place. And this is in the beginning, basically all of chapter 2 is on ser and estar. So if you need a refresher with that, that's where you want to look in chapter 2 of the book. Sunji, do you want to read the reasons to use estar?
Estar. I have health, changing mood or condition, location, or personal opinion.
Perfect. Looks great. And how about ser?
Oh, it's a lot. It's a description, possession, material, where an event takes place, possession or ownership, identification, and point of origin.
Perfect. I think maybe I heard you wrong, but I think you might have said possession twice. One of them was profession and possession.
Oh, yeah. Oh, profession and possession. Yeah.
Perfect. Sounds great. Good job, the star students of the evening. And below that, you'll also find this in chapter 2, but you're just conjugating out all of the forms of ser and estar. So 2 of our most important verbs, irregular verbs, but ones we use all the time. So I just wanted you guys to know where to access those conjugations. I'll do these ones so you don't have to read everything.
Okay.
So for estar, we have estoy, estás, está, estamos, and están. And Estás, está, and están all have an accent mark over the A, so don't forget those. And for ser, we have soy, eres, es, somos, and son. And again, if you want to copy those down, they're in chapter 2 of your book. All right, moving on to some regular verbs here. In activity number 7. Do you want to read the first sentence out?
Sure. Ella escucha música tradicional.
Perfect. So she listens to traditional music.
Okay.
And letter B.
Él le paga al Señor.
Perfect. And this sentence actually has a little more complicated grammar in it that we haven't gone over. We've seen this example several times, but how it has the le there, this is the same kind of grammar point that we've touched on a little bit with me gusta. So that means that he pays to the man. So just take a note of that. You'll see that le again later on as you're reading that section later down in the book in your independent studies with me gusta. All right, letter C.
Yo no tomo jugo de manzana.
Very nice. I don't drink apple juice. Perfect.
Okay.
Letter D.
Nosotros comemos muchos mangos en el verano.
Very nice. We eat a lot of mangoes in the summertime. Letter E.
Ellos no corren todos los días.
Very nice. They don't run every day.
Okay.
Letter F.
Usted lee mucho.
Perfect. So this is that formal you. I'm asking someone maybe who's older than me or in a kind of professional situation if they read often or read a lot. All right, and letter G.
Ellas escriben muchas cartas.
Very nice. All right, they write a lot of letters and it's a feminine they. All right, H.
Vives en México.
Perfect. So asking a question again here, but this time it's informal you. So just tú. And I have that tú in brackets because we don't actually need to say tú in the question, but we need to know because we're conjugating it. We need to know what form we're conjugating it in. All right, and letter I.
Ustedes siempre abren las puertas.
Perfect. They always, or you guys always open the doors. And I'm not sure if I already mentioned this, but all of this stuff, regular verbs in general, are going to be in chapter 5 of the book. And all of these verbs with all their full conjugations are in there if you want to poke around and check them out. And then we've got more regular verbs. These are all AR verbs here in activity 8. And those are also all in chapter 5, or you can look at them in our daily vocabulary as well. I believe we had all these verbs. So number 1.
Tomar.
Good, to drink. Number 2.
Bailar.
Perfect, to dance. Number 3.
Pintar.
Great, to paint. Number 4.
Cantar.
Very good, to sing. Number 5.
Cocinar.
Great, to cook. Number 6.
Comprar.
Perfect, good, to buy. Number 7.
Escucha.
Very nice, to listen to. Number 8.
Dibujar.
Very nice, to draw. That's one of the ones that's kind of difficult to see whether she's writing or drawing, but if you look really closely, she's drawing there. Number 9.
Pagar.
Very good. To pay. Number 10.
Estudiar.
Very nice. To study. Number 11.
Hablar.
Great. To talk. And then number 12.
Nadar.
Perfect. Great. Thank you, Sunju. All right. Everybody, make sure to send a thank you message to Sunju for taking on all of the all of the assignment for everyone who's not in class today. All right. So moving on to activity number 9. This is our last page here. And these are all of our irregular verbs. This was probably the hardest one because we haven't gotten a ton of practice with all of these. So it was a lot to look up if you were going through. This is in chapter 6. All of these verbs are conjugated there, but it's still a lot to go through like the full list of conjugation and find the correct form. So this is probably the most labor intensive part of the test if you weren't super familiar with all of these conjugations yet, which you shouldn't necessarily be. And there's no expectation that you have all of these memorized yet. Did you get this section done, Sunju?
Yeah, it was definitely labor intensive.
Yeah, it's a lot to look up. But good practice with these verbs, getting more familiar with them. They are really common, so you will see them a lot.
Okay.
All right, do you want to read them out? Letter A.
Sure. Ella cierra la puerta.
Very nice. Ella cierra la puerta. She closes the door. Letter B.
Él empieza a cocinar.
Perfect. He begins to cook. Letter C.
Yo no recuerdo.
Very nice. I don't remember. Letter D.
Me gusta jugar fútbol.
Perfect. This one was kind of a trick question because you didn't actually need to conjugate the verb, right? You just leave it in that infinitive AR form because it's coming after gusta. So you're never going to conjugate the 2 verbs in a row.
Okay.
All right. You passed the test.
Oh, fine.
And letter E.
Ellos no quieren ir.
Perfect. They don't want to go. Letter F.
Usted tiene dinero para la propia.
That was perfect, but I made a mistake. There's a typo in this sentence. Sorry. It should be propina. The N is missing. So the tip, propina.
Propina. Tip.
Yeah. Sorry about that. So it's again, usted. So we're asking in that formal you version, do you have money for the tip? All right. Letter G.
Ella puede correr muy rápido.
Very nice. She can run very fast. Letter H.
Yo vuelvo a la casa de mi familia cada año.
Perfect. I return to my family's house every year. All right. Or I go back to, it sounds more natural in English, but volver, to return. All right. Letter I.
Yo no sé.
Perfect. I don't know. And letter J.
Tú lo ves.
Perfect. Do you see it? And again, this is just the regular informal you here. All right. All right. So that was probably the most labor intensive hard part of the test. And again, that's in chapter 6 of the book, if you want to go through and look at all those irregular verbs. And then the next section is also on irregular verbs, also going to be found in chapter 6, but we're focusing on the verb tener, which we worked with a lot yesterday. Expressions with tener. So the first one is letter A.
Yo tengo 32 años.
Perfect. Great job with the number there. And that means I have, literal translation would be I have 32 years, but that's how you would express I'm 32 years old in Spanish. All right, so letter B.
Ella tiene hambre.
Perfect. She has hunger or she is hungry.
Okay. Tú tienes calor.
Perfect. So here I'm asking you if you are hot. And letter D.
Ustedes tienen sed.
Good. So are you guys thirsty? And letter E, last one.
Nosotros tenemos sueño.
Perfect. So we are sleepy. All right. So moving on from irregular verbs, this section is on I and just kind of looking at word order in general in Spanish. So more information about I can be found in the book in chapter 3. And more specifically, it's going to be on pages 27 and 28 of chapter 3. So did you get the first one, letter A?
Hay 3 tomates en la mesa.
Perfect. So that means there are 3 tomatoes on the table. All right. And letter B?
Hay una mesera en el restaurante.
Very nice. So same with the question. We're going to use that same format. You don't need to change the words around at all. Is there a waiter in the restaurant? And last one, letter C.
Hay mucho pan en la panadería.
Very nice. So there's a lot of bread in the bakery. Perfect. All right. So the 3 kind of different uses of I there. So just in a normal sentence, there are, there is, and then also forming a question too. You no need to change the order around at all for those. All right. And our last section was about adjectives, which we just kind of touched on briefly in class. But you can find out more information and a full list of lots of great useful adjectives to study on page 9 in the book. So here, number 1, for un perro, which adjective did you choose?
I chose sí bonita.
So this one is kind of a trick because grande could be, it's D, grande.
Oh, grande.
And grande could actually be used for a couple of these, but for perro, the only one that works is grande because it is masculine. So bonita is feminine.
Okay.
So those 2 don't agree.
Mm.
And then number 2 then.
Una casa caros.
So here again, with these, you just have to make sure that the ending of the noun and the ending of the adjective fit. So they need to both be, if one of them's plural, the other one needs to be plural. If one of them's feminine, the other one needs to be feminine, and so on. So here, because it's una casa, it's going to be singular and feminine. So we have to find an adjective that is also singular and feminine.
It's bonita.
So here we're going to use bonita. Here you could have also put grande because grande doesn't have a masculine and feminine version. There's only one version of the word. But since we already used grande with el perro, we'll leave bonita here, letter C. And then number 3, we've got unas sandías. So that is feminine and plural. So we need to find an adjective that is both feminine and plural.
Deliciosas.
Yeah, perfect. Letter A, deliciosas. And the last one, unos restaurantes, some restaurants are, that is masculine and plural.
Is it caros?
Yeah, so some expensive restaurants. Unos restaurantes caros, letter B. Did you have any questions about any of the different sections or anything? We can end our video here.
Okay.